Hello. So in our previous videos, what we looked at is how to filter some data and how to write this data into a different sheet. So for example, in our demo, we add numbers of records from different candidates applying for jobs. They all have different years of experience, different salary expectations, and have experiences in different industries. What we did, and you can look at it in our previous videos, but we really looked at how to filter this data according to a set of parameters. What then happened is that with this data, we decided to write it in here, so in our search spreadsheet, and it was pretty straightforward because the data that we wanted to write had exactly the same number of columns, followed exactly the same order of columns, so that was pretty easy. Now, let's see what happened if we were to say we will not follow exactly the same columns as the original data, but I just removed the salary. So if you were to just run the script, and I will just open the script editor first. So that was the line that we used to write our data. If I were to run it now, you will see that I have a problem because the salary information is still here, the industry is not in the right place. So we look at how to sort that out. I'm not sure if this is the better way, but the way I actually do it, I use a for loop that helped me to selectively write elements from the array instead of writing the entire data we stored in the variable. So let's first have a look at what a for loop look like. So what a for loop really does is it actually runs a block of code a certain number of times that we specify. Let's see what it's made of. So a for loop is composed of three different statements. The first statement is executed once before the execution of the block. The second statement is the condition that execute the block. And the third statement is executed after the code block. It probably doesn't make a lot of sense here, but if you look at the example, it's actually a little bit simpler. So we initialize the variable as I equals 0, basically saying that this is our starting point. This is a parameter that we start. And in the second statement, we say that we will run the code until I is just under 5, right? Is lower than 5. So it means that the code inside the for loop will run 5 times. So it will run for I equals 0, I equal 1, I equal 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and that's exactly what happens with the last statement. When we write I++, it means that the code starts being executed with I equals 0. So it would say the number is 0. Once this code has run, we increment I by 1. So the second time we run the code, I will be equal to 1, and so on and so forth. Okay, so with that in mind, let's just go back to our tool editor and start with our own loop. Okay, I'll just comment that out. Okay, let's write our own loop. So for, we'll start with I equals 0. And you remember, as we said, the length of the range that we will define actually depends on how many candidates are returned, right? It could be that, if we search for retail, we'll only have 2 candidates, but if we search for marketing, we might have 5, right? So that's something that we need to take into account, and it's essentially defined by the length of the array. We also talked about it in the last video, so we would say I is less than filtered data, which is the variable where I stored the records that have been filtered, dot length, okay, and I++. Close this, curly brackets, and now I can write the code that will allow me to paste the columns one by one. Okay, so we'll start with b10. So we go on our search sheet, which is the variable that we declared in here, dot get ranged. And we know that we are in b10, so that would be 10 and 2, dot set value. So remember we talked about the fact that we had two options, so we could either select set value or set values. In this case, unlike the previous case, we're only going to write one value. So it's one cell and one value in here, so we'll select this one. And in value, I will write filtered data. And now we will have to select which elements in the array we will want to store. So let's just have a look at what our filtered data look like. So you can see that basically filtered data in here is an array of arrays. So the first array within this array would be this one. We know that the first element is the ID, then first name, last name, years of experience, salary, and this is the industry the candidate has worked in. Okay, so what we need to do is we in the cell 10.2, we will want to have the ID. So the ID of the first array, so that would be 0, and the position will also be 0 here. Okay, so I would do 0 and 0. Okay. However, we will want to use I because the second time the code will run, we want to make sure that we're not writing it on the same row, but on the next row, right? So in order to do this, I will just change the row here by 10 plus I. And similarly, in the second row, we do not want to write the data from the first array, but from the second one, right? So we will have written this one. Now I want to write this data here. So it means that we will look at the second array. So I would do 0 plus I. Let's see what would happen here now that we run our code. We save it, run it. Okay, so I have my ID. So instead of writing the entire data here, I only write the idea. Now, from now on, it's pretty simple. I just need to copy and paste the line that we wrote and change it for the different columns that we have. And I could do that in any order. So the second line, the second column is the first name. So I would first of all change the column number. And here we know that the first name is the second position in the array, then the last name is the third position. Then I believe we have the years of experience are in the fourth position. So we have 0, 1, 2, and 3. So that's number 3. And then after that, we will skip the salary and move to the industry, right? So we will move to the fifth position. So now I have 3 here. And I will have 5 here. Let's delete our data. And let's run it again. Okay, so you can see that it copied all the or it wrote the columns in the data in the right order, in the right place. Let's just do another test. So I'll remove this and I will change the industry to say marketing. I'll run it again. Okay, and now I have my candidates with marketing experience. I could say I do banking. Okay, and it seems to work fine this time. So what we've seen in this video is how to create a very basic for loop. I explained to you the different statements that we have in the for loops. And what we will do in the next video, so you can see that every time I ran that script, I had to manually delete the data that we have in the table, I had to clear the content. So In the next video, I'll show you how to do that with a script. So if you want to be notified when the new video will be released, just subscribe to our channel. Thank you.